Today, we're talking about CBRA, and we're talking about what is the real cost for you. How much is flood insurance going to cost you in the CBR flood designated areas? So if you're looking at purchasing a house, building a house in these coastal protected areas like you see right here behind me, then this video is for you. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Chris, the Flood Insurance Guru. For more than 12 years, I've been helping people overcome the same obstacles I had to overcome when I had bought a house in a flood zone, just like this right here. Today, we're talking about CBRA areas. You know, these are areas that some people get confused. They think they're flood zones. They're not actually flood zones. These are designated areas by wildlife and reserve to limit development like you can see right here behind me. It usually happens in the areas along the Georgia coast, the Florida coast, parts of the Texas coast, North Carolina, South Carolina. These are areas where the government wants to minimize development. That's why if a house was built usually after the mid-1990s or been improved after the 1990s, the federal government doesn't even offer flood insurance in these areas. This is why cost is such a big deal on these type of areas. People want to know, hey, how much is flood insurance going to cost me in these areas? Since I don't have an option through the federal government and private's my only option, what's the real cost here? So let's talk about that. First of all, it's important to understand, like we mentioned, private flood insurance is the only thing available in these areas. This means that if you have a large claim like Hurricane Ian in areas like we're standing right here, that this carrier could potentially cancel that policy and you may not be able to get coverage at all. That's something you want to think about when building or buying a house that's in these areas. So what is the cost that we see? First of all, let's talk about coverages that are available. Typically, you've got coverage up to $250,000 available. Sometimes you will be able to get more coverage than that, but it may be rare. But the average cost that we see in these areas is usually between $7,500 and $10,000 a year for $250,000 on the building and $100,000 on contents. Now, an elevation certificate potentially could help lower this rate. In fact, this is exactly what we had happen in Delaware recently, where we saw where an elevation certificate complete a flood insurance rate and it helped lower it 50%. Now, this is not the norm, but they could help in these particular situations. So you may want to look at getting one. But when you're talking about costs, especially in areas like Florida right here, the average cost we're seeing is between $7,500 and $10,000 a year. Now, if you want to know more about these areas, what you can do to minimize it, or simply get a flood insurance quote in these areas, click below in the description of this video. You can also download our guide down below on the CBR areas, what you can do to help protect your wallet and protect your property long term. I'm Chris, the Flood Insurance Guru, and I want to say thank you for watching today's video on how much does flood insurance cost in CBRA areas. I look forward to speaking to you in our next video.